Then on Sports Central, we go over our next team prediction of this offseason, and it's going to be over the Maryland Terrapins, a team that went 8-5 overall in the 2022 season. Not a bad season for Maryland. This is a team that caused some noise in the Big Ten last season, and this is a team showing a lot of promise as we look forward to 2023. How will this team be in 2023, and whether or not this team could potentially be a dark horse contender in the 2023 season is what we'll be talking about here today. We'll be analyzing this team and predict their schedule game by game in this video. Let's get started with a quick recap of 2022. Once again, the record was 8-5, and this was a good team last season. They started the season 3-0 with wins over Buffalo, Charlotte, and SMU. Came back the next week against Michigan in Ann Arbor, first conference game of the season, and they hung in there with Michigan. This was a close game. 34-27 was the final. I mean, yeah, it was a loss, but Michigan, the eventual back-to-back Big Ten champion, made it back to the college football playoff eventually. I mean, Michigan was a great team last season, and so for Maryland to go on the road in a brutal place to play and be as competitive as they were, you could tell this was a solid team. Came back, beat Michigan State 27-13, lost to Purdue 31-29, the eventual Big Ten West champion here in Purdue, a close loss. But then you beat Indiana and Northwestern back-to-back before your bye. Came back after your bye. This was where your biggest slump of the season was. Lost to Wisconsin on the road 23-10, and then got shut out at Penn State 30-0. That game was just ugly. But the thing is, you came back against Ohio State the next week, November 19th, and you lost to them 43-30. But, I mean, Ohio State at that point in the season, I mean, that was a big game for them. And so for you to hang in there with Ohio State, I mean, both Ohio State and Michigan, two of the best teams in the country last year, Maryland was able to hang with both. So that is definitely something to be proud of. And then he came back and then beat Rutgers 37-0 to finish out the regular season. Took on NC State in the Mayo Bowl, beat them 16-12 to finish out the season. So, I mean, this was not a bad team last season, and you consider some of the close losses that this team took too. I mean, the 2-point loss to Purdue, the close losses to Michigan and Ohio State. I mean, say if you flip the Purdue loss, which you very well could have won that game, and you could have definitely beaten either Michigan or Ohio State, I mean, suddenly this is a 10-win team last season, and I mean, the way this team played in a lot of those tough matchups, this looked like a 10-win team. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential here, and the experience this team is going to have in 2023, that's a big reason why this team is so promising as we look forward to 2023. And let's look at the roster preview now. So Taulia Tagovailoa coming back, starting quarterback for this team, who's definitely got some experience now. He put up over 3,000 yards last season, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a 67% completion rate. Definitely a quarterback who has got a lot of potential as we look forward to 2023. And the backfield looks great. Roman Hemby coming back. Same with Antoine Littleton II coming back. Roman Hemby last season, over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, nearly 1,300 total yards of offense last season. He is quietly one of the best running backs in the Big Ten. And, of course, Littleton is also there to add some depth. And then the receiving core looks pretty good. Jashaun Jones coming back. Corey Dykes coming back. Jashaun Jones last season, nearly 600 yards of offense, 4 touchdowns. You do lose Raheem Jarrett and Jacob Copeland, your second and third wideouts. You also lose your tight end, C.J. Dipre. He's transferring out. But you do return your, what would be your fourth wideout in Ty Felton. You lose 1 on the O-line, 4 on the D-line, 1 linebacker, and then 2 in the secondary. So defensively, you do lose a bit on the D-line and some depth in the secondary. But overall, I wouldn't say it's too concerning. I do think this team has got some decent depth defensively, but obviously both areas of the ball are going to need to be strong if this team wants to be a contender, especially, I mean, with this being the last season of the East-West divisions. That East division this season is still going to be stacked. I mean, you got Ohio State and Michigan at the top, clearly, and Penn State next season I do think could be even better, honestly. So, I mean, it's going to be stacked, and it's going to be tough for Maryland to stand out in that division. That's just the way it's going to be for this season. But I do think this is a team that, I mean, if you threw Maryland in the West Division, I would not be surprised if the Terps won that division next season. I just think this is a talented enough team to make a run. It's just the East Division is so stacked. But let's take a look at the transfer portal and recruiting now. So Caden Prather Receivers coming in from West Virginia, expect him to have immediate impact. Mentioned CJ Dipray's off to Alabama. You got Tyrese Chambers coming in, receiver from FIU, who is listed as a wide receiver 2. Otherwise, Anthony Booker, you do lose him. He's off to Arkansas, defensive lineman last season. Messiah Nasili-Kite's off to Auburn. Donnell Brown, he's expected to be a starter coming in from St. Francis. Same with Jaquan Shepard coming in from Cincinnati, defensive back. Recruiting-wise, you're 36th in the country, 6th in the Big Ten, and you got 4 4-stars coming in, 21 3-stars. Overall, not too bad for this team, being middle of the pack in the Big Ten. And honestly, I think the future is bright for this team. This is a team that I think is in a pretty good position right now, especially for 2023. If there was any season where this team could be a contender, 2023 is going to be it. I mean, this is a team that is built to win right now, but once again, it all comes down to the brutal Big Ten East. I mean, this team could make a lot more noise if they're in the West Division. Once again, I could see them winning the division this upcoming season if they're in the West, but that's just not the way it is. But I do think the future is bright for this team. I've got them at an 8 out of 10 on the future forecast meter. Overall, I do think the future is bright for this team, and this team is definitely heading in the right direction. But that said, let's take a look at the schedule now as we look forward to 2023. So you got Towson week 1 at home. You actually have all of your first 3 games at home, which is nice. You got Charlotte week 2 and then Virginia week 3, which Virginia is a Power 5 non-conference opponent, but Virginia next season honestly could be argued to be the worst Power 5 team. Honestly, I think Virginia is going to be atrocious next year. So a pretty easy non-conference game there, I do think, in Virginia. And you got them at home as well. And then Michigan State on the road to open up your conference schedule, and then Indiana to finish out September. Ohio State on the road, Illinois at home, then your bye week. Northwestern on the road, Penn State at home, Nebraska on the road, Michigan at home, and then Rutgers on the road to finish out the regular season. So definitely the conference schedule going on the road to Columbus. That's obviously going to be tough, but at least you got Penn State and Michigan both at home. That's definitely nice. Your crossover games into the West Division. You got Nebraska, Northwestern, and Illinois. Honestly, not too terrible. But looking at September here, Towson, easy win. Take care of them, no problem. Same with Charlotte. Virginia, honestly, you should take care of them, no problem as well. So honestly, if you lost any of your first 3 games, I would really be stunned. All 3 of them are extremely winnable. And honestly, I could see Maryland winning all 3 of those in convincing fashion. And then you head into the Michigan State matchup. This is a winnable game here. I think Michigan State next season is going to be right around that 6 to 8 win range. I mean, I don't see them being a huge standout, but I do think you lose there. A tough road game in East Lansing. I think Michigan State does steal a win off of you there. So you're 3-1 heading into the Indiana matchup. You do beat them pretty easily. I don't see Indiana being too good. And then Ohio State on the road. The Buckeyes next season, I do think, are once again going to be a contender. Obviously, the quarterback situation is a bit of a question mark, but I think they'll be just fine. That's a team with so much talent. They'll be fine. And I think Ohio State next season, a really good 10 to 12 win team. So I'm going to take Ohio State there on the road. It's also in Columbus, a brutal place to play. And then you got Illinois at home. I do think you beat Illinois here. That's a team that could be good defensively, but offensively they should struggle. So as long as you can shut them down offensively, which shouldn't be an issue, you should beat Illinois there. And then Northwestern on the road, you beat them. So you're 6-2 heading into November, which November I would probably say is your toughest month. In fact, I would say it's your toughest month. Penn State, a really good team. Next season, I do think you lose to them. Nebraska on the road. This is an interesting matchup here, going on the road to Lincoln. This is one that I've gone back and forth on quite a bit. Honestly, this is a 50-50 matchup right here. Nebraska is a tough place to play. I do think the Huskers are going to be playing some good ball in November. At the beginning of the season, maybe it could be a different story. I'm going to take you to beat Nebraska there. I do think Nebraska is definitely a beatable team here for Maryland. It is a road game, but I do want to favor you there, so a nice win. And then Michigan at home, I do think you lose to the Wolverines. Honestly, you could beat either Penn State or Michigan next season. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. I've got you losing to both. Honestly, in November, I do think you're probably going to go 2-2, so it's just a matter of who you're going to lose to. But Michigan, Penn State, both are winnable games. I do think Michigan next season is going to be, they're going to be a top power. That is going to be a brutal team next season. In fact, I've got Michigan undefeated for 2023. It's not too often I predict a team to go undefeated, but I do with Michigan. But Penn State, I would say especially, a very winnable game there. I mean, honestly, I considered taking Maryland over Penn State there, but I didn't in the end. I just think Penn State, Drew Eller, they're going to be still pretty good. And then Rutgers on the road, you take care of them, no problem. So 8-4 is the record for Maryland next season. But this is a team with the potential to get up to 9, maybe 10 wins. The potential's there, but it's just, once again, a brutal division in the Big Ten East, having to play Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. I mean, it's going to be tough. And honestly, I mean, I am half tempted to switch that Penn State game. I do want to say that Penn State-Maryland game is very much a 50-50 game, very winnable for the Terps. But looking at the range here, I do think the ceiling is 10-2. That's the best possible record you could have. 6-6 is the worst. I'm pretty comfortable saying I think this team will be between 7 and 10 wins, though, honestly. I think that's going to be right around where this team will be. It's so tough in the Big Ten East, and honestly, I think it's for the better that the divisions are being removed after this season with the addition of UCLA and USC. I mean, it's just, for so many years now, the East and the West divisions have been so lopsided towards the East, having Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State just all stacked up in the East division and the West. I mean, next season in the West, I've got Wisconsin and Iowa at the top. Both teams probably going to go 9-3. And once again, if you threw Maryland in the West division, I might just take them to win it. But yeah, it's a tougher schedule. I do want to go with 8-4 for the Terps, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this team. Definitely an interesting team as we look forward to 2023. And I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.